Being a villain in a video game is an important, stressful job, what with all the requisite training, planning, and appearing on giant video screens to taunt your nemesis.
You have chosen, or been chosen, to relocate to one of our finest remaining urban centers.
With all that to keep in mind, it's no wonder video game villains sometimes lose track of exactly where they're supposed to be, and then turn up in completely inappropriate games driving go-karts, skateboarding, or playing the drums when they should actually be scheming to take over the world. Consider these our 7 most memorable villains who wandered off into entirely the wrong game. Enjoy, and beware spoilers ahead for the following titles.
Stories of Ganon were passed from generation to generation in the form of legends and fairy tales. But there was also a prophecy.
If you've ever played a Legend of Zelda game, you'll be aware of Ganon. In his various forms, he's been the main antagonist of most of the Zelda games, usually hell-bent on kidnapping Princess Zelda, conquering the world of Hyrule, and ushering in a new age of darkness, violence, and brutal domination. Which, to be honest, sounds like a ton of hard work. So it's no surprise that Ganon needs a vacation now and then. What's more of a surprise is that he chooses to take said vacation in the wholesome, sunny, violence-free world of Animal Crossing New Leaf. Or at least he does if you scanned a Zelda-themed amiibo, which would cause him to rock up at the in-game campsite, driving a Hyrule customized camper van like a divorced uncle who insists it's a lifestyle choice. It's at this point that if you have no compunctions about having the literal embodiment of evil living near you, you can invite Ganon to come and live in your town. Once he's moved in, Ganon will become a beloved part of your island community thanks to what the Animal Crossing wiki describes as his cranky personality, catchphrase "gahaha", and enthusiasm for using his political connections to evict people. To be fair, he still sounds better than most of my residents in New Horizons. Hey, O'Hare, you stay away from those flowers. They're hybrids. No, don't walk through them! I'm trying to breed rare colours. And oh, yeah, Lyman, yeah, you would turn up. Both of you need to get off my property now. Cranston, get out of here.
This is an emergency news flash. There is an alien among us.
Right now, you're looking at an extremely dangerous experimental bioorganic weapon known as the Nemesis T-Type. He's not always on fire, but he might as well be, given how little he's bothered. He probably likes it. Hencher than 6 of the rocks, the Nemesis is 8 foot of mutated muscle with the sole ambition of doing murder and, eventually, a laser-guided rocket launcher. The Nemesis is therefore ideally suited for a role in survival horror Resident Evil 3 and not, say, a science fiction comedy about an alien who pulls pranks on humans. And yet the cameo of Nemesis in PS2 action-adventure Under the Skin is curiously a thing. In Under the Skin, you play a 3-year-old alien prankster called Cosme, who is sent to planet Earth to wreak havoc on hapless Earthlings.
So these are the Earthlings I've heard so much about. I thought they'd be scarier. Well, let's start the mischief with this guy!
In the course of all the stunting on humans, you reach a level named Raccoon City. No prizes for guessing which Umbrella-controlled, zombie-infested Hell City this parody city is based on. Yes, that's right, the one with the exact same name.
The next stage is Raccoon City! Be afraid. The city is being infected with some sort of virus.
You can see how a mutant colossus with a single-word vocabulary might get muddled up on the way to work and arrive in Raccoon City in the wrong game.
And to make matters worse, there's an ultra-powerful and smart bioweapon that goes by the name Nemesis.
Imagine the confusion of this befuddled bioweapon when, instead of relentlessly pursuing Jill Valentine and being occasionally set on fire, he is relentlessly pursued by a disguised alien and occasionally knocked down so hard that coins pop out of him. This undignified demotion to Coin Pinata will be very hard for Nemesis to accept. And I ask you, who is going to explain to Nemesis why Carlos Oliveira can now transform into a tank? Not me, and not just because I don't know why. In fact, Nemesis buddy, at this point we're just as confused as you are.
It's panic time!
Enter scene. Winning smile. Dramatic pause. Marlon Random is the name. Method acting is the game. Come on, baby, bring it closer. Closer. That's it.
It's hard to believe that Final Fantasy VII Remake ever got released after how long we've had to wait for it. But that doesn't mean there haven't been little scraps to keep FF7 fans happy in the 23 years since the original game came out. There was CGI movie sequel Advent Children in 2005, PSP prequel Crisis Core in 2008, and in 2011, well, this. Hey, it's better than nothing, arguably. The Final Fantasy VII pack for Little Big Planet 2 onwards allowed you to dress up your Sackboys and Sackgirls as all your favourite characters from the 1997 original. They also included the character who, if you got as far as the nightmarish final boss fight of that game, was probably your least favourite, the one-winged angel himself, Sephiroth. Seems a risky move to include him. He does have the tendency to try and take over the planet, little, big, or any size in between. Sephiroth's iconic silvery mane, leather outfit, and massive sword are all present and correct in his Little Big Planet incarnation. Bit of an error though, instead of those distinctive green eyes, his are a pitiless black. Also, he appears to be smiling, which seems unrealistic, as does this. To be fair, he's got some moves. Look at him go. Don't be fooled by his cheery demeanour in Little Big Planet though. Let us remind you that this is still the same Sephiroth who plunged that very sword through an innocent girl's spine in his quest for power and doomed a large proportion of the world's population by summoning a huge meteor into a collision course with the planet. And it's going to take a lot more than a cute dance to make up for that. Alright, I can't stay mad at you.
I was weak. That's why I needed you. Needed someone to punish me for my sins. But that's all over now. I know the truth. Now it's time to end this.
Between the weird little claw monsters, the breakdancing nurses, and the guys trapped in straitjackets made of their own skin, the Silent Hill series isn't exactly short on what you'd call horrifying psychosexual nightmare creatures. One monster in the series, however, stands head and shoulders above the rest, mostly because its head and shoulders are encased in a towering metal pyramid. This is the very literally named Pyramid Head, first seen in Silent Hill 2, who is terrifying for a number of reasons, most prominent of which are 1. That he is a physical manifestation of hero James's guilt over his behaviour towards his terminally ill wife, and 2. That he's armed with a knife that's bigger than he is. More the second one, if I'm honest. Pyramid Head never says a word throughout the Silent Hill series. In fact, his appearances pretty much all involve him staggering around dragging his knife behind him trying to kill you, or brutally assaulting other Silent Hill monsters. That's why it's such a surprise to discover that his other great passion in life, apart from killing you with a big knife, is go-kart racing. Or at least it is, according to his appearance in Crazy Kart Racing, a cute Mario Kart-style racing game for cell phones. In this colourful kart racer, Nightmare Abomination Pyramid Head appears driving an adorable little go-kart through fun and exotic stages against other racers, including the Frog from Frogger, Takeo the Octopus from Parodius, and Sparkster from Rocket Knight Adventures. Also present is Robbie the Rabbit from Silent Hill 3, last seen slumped on a park bench covered in blood. Seems to have perked up for this though. Regardless of what you think about Pyramid Head racing go-karts though, I think we can all agree that he definitely has the perfect head shape for it. So aerodynamic.
Oh, hey, it's you.
Esteemed filmmaker and monster expert Guillermo del Toro once said that a good monster is a monster you can imagine in repose. Additionally, we like to imagine what good monsters do in their downtime, recreationally, when they're not terrorising their victims. In the case of sarcastic, malevolent AI GLaDOS from Portal, we don't need to imagine, because card game sim Poker Night 2 tells us that she is, against all expectations, really into organising tournaments of Texas Hold'em with the stars of other unrelated game franchises.
Good evening.
Great. What the hell? Wayne?
This completes the first test of the contestants' poker faces. The bad news is you all failed miserably.
We suspect in this case it's less that GLaDOS wandered into the wrong game by accident, and more like she deliberately took some time off from running the show over at Aperture Science in order to run some poker games between Brock Sampson from the Venture Bros, Ash Williams from The Evil Dead, Sam from Sam & Max, and Claptrap from Borderlands.
Darn it! I forgot to turn on my poker subroutine. Can I get a do-over?
Your question is activating my rarely used giggle center.
Sure, GLaDOS doesn't actually get to play poker herself, but it's hard to get a good hand of cards when you don't have any hands. And we bet GLaDOS is actually in it less for the friendly camaraderie of a poker night, and more in it for the chance to absolutely roast her players.
I know something you don't know. Not about this hand, just generally.
As far as poker playing experiences go, this is a unique opportunity to be belittled by a murderous artificial intelligence. It's not like a dealer in Vegas is going to remind you of your own mortality while you play. I mean, not if they're any good.
It's a mathematical certainty that 80% of you are going to lose tonight, and 100% of you will eventually die.
I like those odds. Steal me in, GLaDOS.
わしと貴様にとってはふさわしい場所。決着をつけるとするか。貴様をここで終わらせる。
I don't think there's anyone who would argue that Heihachi Mishima from the Tekken series isn't a bad dude. He's the head of evil multinational arms manufacturer the Mishima Zaibatsu, runs illegal fighting tournaments in his spare time, forces a bear to work in his office, and once chained his dad to a rocket,
24, 23, 17,
threw his son into a volcano, and kicked his grandson into space. All of which is going to make the family reunion a bit awkward. That's not to say that he doesn't have other interests though. Like all rich old dudes, Heihachi is into tennis, as we saw in his appearances in the Smash Court Tennis series. But it appears that his true passion lies in playing the massive traditional Japanese percussion instrument known as taiko drums, as we see when he joins you for a duet on one of his Tekken themes, Heat Haze 2, in the rhythm action game Taiko no Tatsujin Drum Session.
始めるとするか。
It's never mentioned in the Tekken series that Heihachi is a world-class taiko drummer, but to be fair, taiko is an ancient Japanese musical art form which vibes with Heihachi's whole deal, and he's clearly into it. Look at that concentration. He does spoil it slightly by breaking off towards the end of the song to go and have yet another fight with his son Kazuya, but to be fair, the drumming keeps going, which is honestly pretty impressive. Seriously, Heihachi, how did you get so good at hitting things? Oh, right.
Who's the one who break my sleeve?
Back in the late 90s and early 2000s, everyone was trying to clamber onto the extreme sports video game bandwagon that had made huge, stratospheric stars of athletes like Tony Hawk, Dave Mirra, and the man who needs no introduction, Kelly Slater. You know, Kelly Slater. About yay high, carries a surfboard around. Never mind. Konami wasn't just going to hang around while everyone else was buying mansions and mansion yachts with the earnings from multi-million selling sports games, so in 2002 they came up with Evolution Skateboarding, presumably named after the fact that some of these accidents look like a shoo-in for the Darwin Awards.
Backside grab. Oh, what kind of move was that?
Oof. Way to take yourself out of the gene pool. The only problem for Evolution Skateboarding was that it was left with a handful of pro skateboarders who weren't mates with Tony Hawk and therefore appearing in his game. So they just started adding random characters from the Konami back catalogue and made them do kickflips. Like for example the cast of Metal Gear Solid 2. I would say that's a gross trivialization of Kojima's beloved involving cinematic universe, but then I remember that bit in MGS2 where Otacon tells you off for playing with yourself in a locker.
What do you think you're doing, Snake? You don't have enough to keep you busy? Try to remember the mission if you can.
Yeah, you know what? Skateboarding's fine. This commitment to crossovers is at its most bizarre when you discover that there's a level themed entirely around the classic Castlevania games. It's set in the castle of series arch-villain and legendary vampire Dracula, last seen ruminating on the human condition and making a mess of the floor.
What is a man? A miserable little pile of secrets!
He owns a castle, he's probably got people to clean that up. The level, based on the reimagined version of Dracula's castle for Evolution skateboarding, has you rescuing prisoners from a dungeon torture chamber using the holy power of frontside 50-50 grinds. One would assume a humble, no-name skate bro stood no chance in battle against the immortal vampire Count Dracula, and yet here we are crashing into his minions and eventually causing him to burst into flames, which, let's be honest, is a pretty embarrassing defeat for the legendary Lord of Darkness. Still, could have been worse. He could have been jacking it in a cupboard somewhere.
Alright, body burial. That's got to hurt.
Thank you so much for watching this video about villains who sort of wandered off into the wrong game completely by accident. If you enjoyed this video, please do like and subscribe. And if you'd like to watch some more things, we've got Show of the Week Live, which is a live streamed show where we talk about all things video games and focus on one particular video game every week. And Show of the Weekend Live is on Outside Extra, our sister channel, and that's a similar sort of thing, but with kind of quizzes and all sorts of other weird activities that those guys come up with. So enjoy those, and we will see you next time.